Hey there, creepy peeps, and welcome to another Exhumed movie review. Today we are talking about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Directed by Victor Fleming, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde follows the former, who believes that good and evil exist in everyone, and develops a serum to separate the evil, allowing the good to live on to their full potential. After animal trials, Jekyll tries the serum on himself, unleashing his evil side, Mr. Hyde. However, after running free a few nights in a row, Jekyll finds he can no longer control Hyde, who takes over to terrorize the town. So rather than being a new film version of Robert Louis Stevenson's novella, the film is a direct remake of the 1931 film, which, fun fact, in my schedule for January, I had actually planned to watch the 1931 version, and then I ended up watching this one accidentally. Both adaptations, however, differ greatly from Stevenson's work, and they rely heavily on Thomas Russell Sullivan's stage adaptation of the story, which added the whole dual love interest thing. Neither women in the movie make an appearance in Stevenson's novella. Spencer Tracy, who plays the titular characters, wanted the adaptation to be more symbolic and have Jekyll like transform into Hyde after he had been drinking or like doing drugs or something like that. Furthermore, he wanted the role of Bede and Ivy to be played by the same actress in order to, you know, reiterate the whole like good and evil in everybody thing. And of course, in their infinite wisdom, the studio went with none of these ideas. Despite the fact that Spencer Tracy's actually kind of cool ideas didn't get put into play at all, which is sad. I thought he did a great job in his performance. The transformation scenes, the camera just like remains locked on his face in a close-up, are really effective. And speaking of which, the transformation, I love the subtle differences between Jekyll and Hyde's face. He looked more like an extension of Jekyll, which he's supposed to be, rather than a monster like in the 1931 version. I still haven't seen it, but I've seen pictures and clips. He looks way more monstrous in the 1931 version. And I thought Hyde was plenty frightening in this one. He basically imprisons Ivy in this like lavish apartment and psychologically tortures her, hits her, and rapes her. It's brutal, and of course, because of the Hays Code, none of this is really shown, but it's implied. I also liked how Hyde was linked to Ivy in a way, and the spontaneous transformation, like the point where Jekyll realizes he's out of control, happens when Jekyll is whistling that tune that Ivy was singing, the "You Should See Me Dance the Polka," that tune or whatever. I don't know if that's what the song is called, but that's the only line I remember. Like, it reinforces how Ivy is a temptation for Jekyll, and you know, it's kind of a callback to the first meeting that they have where Jekyll has that instance where he kisses Ivy, and you know, where he lets his evil side out a little bit, and naturally when his evil side is personified and actually comes out, he goes right for Ivy, which was his original temptation. And the ending, I thought the ending was so tragic, and especially when Jekyll is transforming into Hyde for the very last time and he keeps repeating that he is Dr. Jekyll while his face is transforming. Like, it's very sad. The ending is fitting because while Jekyll is remorseful about what he's done, ultimately he manages to evade the police, and the police, you know, follow Hyde into his lab. They ask Jekyll where he's gone, and he tells them he's gone out the back way. He's totally still content to let them believe that Hyde is another person and exonerate himself, which is true to an extent. Like, Jekyll didn't technically do it, but his friend who feel like he senses this trait in Jekyll and calls him out on his bullshit, you know, in a way, forces him to confess, which spurs on the transformation or whatever. But I like that because, like, while it's tragic at the end, you know, in a very Hays Code way, like, they remind you he is kind of ultimately still a villain because he wasn't remorseful enough to turn himself in at that point. Like, he was still very wrongly thinking that he could control Hyde, and that if he could just escape this one time, he won't ever do anything bad again, which probably wouldn't have been true. Overall, I still have to watch the 1931 version to see how it compares. as it is, and it is according to the internet, the higher rated version. But I didn't hate this one at all. I thought this one was actually quite good. I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5. On IMDb, it has a 6.9 out of 10. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 65% critic score and a 61% audience score. And on Letterboxd, it has a 3.2 out of 5. I saw Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde on Amazon, so I'll leave an affiliate link in the description if you want to check out the movie that way. Of course, there's no pressure to use that link, but if you do, it does help out the channel a little bit. If you've already seen Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, however, let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about it. As always, I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here and become a Creepy Peep today. I post videos Monday through Friday. You can ring that notification bell down there to be notified every time I post a video, even though it doesn't always work. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay strange. Bye! This video is brought to you by all of these awesome Patreon supporters who are listed here on the screen. Thank you guys so much for your support. If you want to find out the perks to being a Creepy Patron Peep, you can follow that link that's in the description box. And if you want to check out more videos, you can click the video that's on the screen right now.